This lesson, I want to look at JavaScript operators. So we had earlier looked at arithmetic JavaScript operators, so plus, minus, multiplication, division. We've also looked briefly at adding, and I'm going to show you this one here. So this is a short arithmetic. So this is the same thing if I was to go over and if I had a variable of x, and if I did x plus plus. So that essentially what that would do is that would add one value to x, and I'll show you how that looks when we console log that out. And we can also do the inverse of that and do x minus minus and console log out x once again. So let's go take a look at that when we refresh it. So x increments by 1 now is equal to 6, and decreases by 1 is equal to 5. So this is just a shorthand way of doing an increment and subtraction of 1. So that's the short arithmetic. So we also have what's known as comparison operators. So we are doing something where we've got this equal sign. So let's open that up and take a look at this. So we've got these ones where it's an equal sign. So this is where we're assigning the values. But we can also do a comparison to check to see if a value is actually true. And this is the beginnings of thinking of what our conditional statements look like. So let's create another variable here, and I'm going to do variable a, and I'm going to equal it to, and we're going to have a condition here. So this is going to be an example of a ternary operator. So basically this is where we've got a conditional operator that assigns a value based on a condition. So the value of a is going to be related to what the value of this condition is. So let's take a look at x, and we're going to check to see if x is less than 10, then, so if x is less than 10, then we'll say low number, and if it's not, then we're going to say high number, and we'll uppercase that so that really stands out. So now we're just going to do console log and show you a value of a. So let's take a look at this and see what output we get here. So what do you think is going to happen here? Once the JavaScript hits this statement, it's got this condition here, so it's setting the value of a, and it's going to equal this value depending on what happens with this condition, and then over here it's got what it's going to return back according to that condition. So we see that low number is returned. So if we were to increment this to 55, run it again, we see we get high number returned. So this is a very basic way of doing a conditional statement, and it's very straightforward and laid out in a way that just makes sense. So you could have any number of different conditions. So there's different comparison types. We can also do these comparison operators, so we can see if x is equal to, and we use two equal signs to check to see if it's equal to the value. Sometimes you might see actually three equal signs, and what three equal signs means is that we're checking for the type as well. So that third one there indicates that we're looking for the type, and when I say type, let me show you what we mean by that. So I'm going to set a variable of y, and I'm going to give this y value a string value of 55. So when it comes over here and we want to see if x is equal to y, and so we're going to say same value if it is, and just different if it isn't. And I'm also going to do one for b, and I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to say look for the same type, and we're console log out the value of b, so same type and value. So then it's absolutely the same. So we can check to see if it's absolutely the same. So what do you think is going to happen here? So the first value for a, is it going to say same value? Is it going to say different? And then the second value for b, is it going to say same type and value, or is it going to say different? What do you think is going to happen when we look in the console? So we see that we've got same value and then we've got different, because they are different types, because this is numeric and this is string type. So the type is the third one there. We can also check to see if it's not equal to and the type isn't equal to. So this is the not equal to sign. So of course we'd have to change those, because that's the return values aren't going to make a lot of sense. But we see that what's happening now is that this condition is being true. So this first one here, so the first one is a true value, and then the second one is if the value is false. And this is what gets returned back on the condition. So if this statement here is true, then we get the first value. If it's false, we get the second value. So now that we've added in this exclamation mark, which is indicative of not equal to, so we see x is not equal to y, so we're not looking at the type, so the value here is being returned as true. So maybe this would make more sense where we could just say true, true, and then this one would be false. And we'll just show you how this is going to work. So now we're going to get that x is not equal to y, so that's going to be returned back as true, or it's going to actually be false, sorry. So x is not going to be equal to y, but x type is not going to be equal to y type, and then that's going to return back true. So let's check this out. So we do get false, we get true there. And then we also have that whole collection of equal to and equal to, less than. So I could do x is greater than or equal to. We could do x is less than or equal to, and so on. And then depending on if the value of true or not is returned, then this is what the output for the variable that we're adding this statement to is going to be now assigned those new values to. Essentially, these comparison statements, it's just a matter of applying logic, taking a look at the different values that you're working with, and seeing what the result is going to be. We can even take this one step further, and we can add in logical operators. So we could add in something like and. So this is going to look for two statements. It's going to see if x is equal to y, and it's also going to check to see if x is greater than, or maybe we'll just leave it at greater than y. And this, in fact, this statement here could never be true, because the fact is that if x is equal to y, it wouldn't be greater than y. So let's take a look at that, and we see that we're always returning back false no matter what, because these conditions can never be met. So also we can use or. So now it's going to look to see if x is equal to y, or if x is actually greater than y. It's actually not looking at the type, so keep that in mind. Value is being returned back as true. So now if we change the value of x to be greater than y, we're going to see once again that it turns back true. So this is the ternary operator. So I'm going to write that out, and it returns back either the value on true or the value on false. So let's look deeper into comparisons and look at conditions, switches. So all of this is coming up in the next set of lessons.